one verse that talking about what will happen after 12 years, what will happen after 6 months, 1 year. So they specifically mention about the fresh urine, fresh shivambu, all in the document. But don't you think that by injecting the shivambu into the intramuscular or intravenous, we are little fast tracking the process to get enlightenment through the shivambu?
What I've found in my clinical evidence and just working with individuals is that to speed the process up, it really has a lot to do with cleansing them out really, really good when they first start doing the shivambu. Kind of like the first 90 days is a detoxification and a cleansing period, and then the next 90 days is kind of like a restoration, and then after that the third 90 days plus is more of a regeneration. Everybody is different, obviously, and that's, shivambu works differently with every single person depending on what their body. For example, somebody might have arthritis pain and be on shivambu for like 3 months, and their pain is even worse after 3 months. And what I explain to them is there might be some issue in their body that their body is requiring to fix before it fixes the pain and the inflammation in their joints. And I've seen this happen with multiple cases with detox, even just using detoxification. People, especially here in the US, they want everything now. So when you talk about speeding up the process, like I've had people that have jumped right in and started drinking all of their urine that they produce, looping right immediately, and they get tremendously ill. They get sick. And, for example, I had one individual that started drinking too much right at first. Now, would that be bad for them over time, or are they just really going through the detoxification process and they're pushing everything out? Most likely that's what they're going through. But I've had some people that were, in the first year, they were drinking their first morning urine. They were sick 6 times during that first year with really bad flu-like symptoms, like COVID symptoms, even while they were drinking it. They weren't injecting it. So I would say, like, to answer your question, it would depend on the individual, but yes, I would say that it probably would be very beneficial if you want to do the injections and do the enemas and rubbing it on the skin and, all that stuff that you can do with it to help speed up the process. But not everybody's body can handle that. And that's why I think it's very important. And this is what I've learned is I will have them start the shivambu, but at the same time, I'll have them go through a intestinal cleanse process. I'll have them do probably 3 liver cleanses. I'll have them do a parasite cleanse, and I'll have them do a chemical and heavy metal cleanse. And they can do all that usually within the first 2 months. And I've seen just a tremendous fast tracking with that, because it's not, I feel like just doing the shivambu alone can take a lot longer of a process to work on all that stuff, instead of doing it in combination with a really good detoxification program. Because most people, especially in the US, are extremely, extremely toxic. They eat 10 times the amount of food that they should be eating. They eat fast food, sugar, their bodies are extremely, extremely toxic. And transit depends on the person too. Some people are very open to it at start and they just want to go all in. Some people might want to start slow and get used to it. And it's, you still have the mindset over here in the United States that urine is toxic and it's gross. And, their mind is so programmed that even thinking about drinking their own urine sometimes makes them want to throw up. So I would say, to answer your question, that yes, I think that it would, definitely speed up the process. But I still think that at least in the US, what I've noticed is that running and helping people detoxify those things in conjunction with being on the Shivambu has really, really sped up the process.
But
Hello.
in my understanding, when the process is like when we talk about the urine therapy, then we considered it as a therapy. So whenever the therapy comes there, it will not last longer. So when we consider it as our daily routine, then it is a part of our lifestyle. So why don't we make a fresh Shivambu as our lifestyle rather than considering it as a therapy?
I think ultimately that's what we all want people to realize, is that you have a constant creation of the perfect, not only just medicine. I mean, even calling it a medicine, because a medicine is used to treat something. I mean, I would say that it's the perfect golden elixir that we should consume, and it changes. Like, that's why I consume it every time I go urinate. I might not consume all of it, but I consume at least a little bit because it changes throughout the day. It changes and adapts to the environment. It goes back to the environment again, the external environment you're in and the internal environment you're in. Let's say you go shopping in a mall somewhere at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and they have a bunch of air fresheners in there and they have toxic air you're breathing in, and so a couple other people might be sick that you walk by and you pick up and you breathe in all that stuff. Well, guess what? Then your body's going to be producing those antibodies. It's going to be producing what you need to clean those toxins out of the air. And the next time you go urinate, you're going to have that information in there and you're going to have it there. So I agree. It should be a lifestyle thing. It shouldn't necessarily be used as a therapeutic. It's just right now, people are looking at it in the way that we're introducing it. Everybody has issues. Like, everybody here is suffering from depression, anxiety, diabetes, cancer, pain. What they're looking for is answers. It's easier, I think, to present something as an answer to something that somebody is trying to find a solution for. But in the long run, I think that it goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning, is educating people to feel confident enough to become their own doctor. And at that point in time, you're going to be using it not as a therapeutic. Well, I mean, you couldn't say therapeutic, but also you're going to be using it as a messenger and a elixir of not only health, but longevity and spirituality. And I think that ultimately that's where we all want to be. That's where we all want to get to. That's what we all want people to understand. Because if your temple is clean and you're not putting stuff in there, then you're not using it as a therapeutic. You're not using it as a medicine. You're just using it as an amazing, energetic, vibrational compound that's correcting your vibrational and energetic and nutritional deficiencies. Like, one of the best things that I've found here in the US, there's practically every single woman over the age of 30 is suffering from hormone imbalance because of all the endocrine disrupting chemicals and the plastics and the just all the changes that they go through. Men are too, but mostly women are. There's nothing better that I've found than to put women on drinking their own urine, because it has the hormones that they're deficient in the exact ratio that they need. And within a short period of time, their hormones come back into balance. Now, you can talk to 1,000 doctors here, and they will tell you the hardest thing to do is to balance a woman's hormones. Because every woman is different. They're going to go through stresses and anxiety. And it's just like your hormones, and men too, for that matter, your hormones are going to go up and down all the time during the day. But if you have the urotherapy there with you, let's say you go through a very stressful situation, you go through anger, you go through something and your hormones get out of whack and your adrenals start pushing out a bunch of cortisol or adrenaline, and it throws your hormones off. Or you eat some a lot of soy or something. I mean, there's so many different things that can throw your hormone levels off. Well, that's a balancing tool. It's a balancing tool that you can use to balance out your hormones. And talking about stress and anxiety and depression, Shivambu is the best for that. I mean, I myself get in sometimes states of anxiety or I'll have a situation that happens. And the first thing I do is go to the bathroom and and it just calms me right back down. So, there's a lot of things that we can use this for to help balance out our emotions, balance out our physical and our spiritual beings.
Okay, but I understand one thing, that while doing the Shivambu, can we make ourselves more powerful enough that our breathing practice will reach to that level so that the small anxiety will not occur? Our physical fitness will go to that level that the little stress or the more exhaustion, even though it happens, so we will not suffer through that, so that we need a less amount of Shivambu, so we should not dependent completely on the Shivambu, and we should increase our mental state or physical state or breathing state.
Yes. Yeah, I think that there is, I think that there is that possibility. And that's kind of what we're all striving for. That's kind of what I'm trying to reach that point myself. I have not reached that point yet, but I'm trying to reach that point. I think that we live in a world, we all live in a toxic world, okay? That we have to look at what's around us, and we have toxic messages constantly being put on the TV screen. We have toxic, everything that I talked about, the toxic food, the toxic beverages, the toxic water. We're living in a very negative frequency, a very negative time. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of negative emotions that are circulating, and we're all one. So we feel each other. I mean, it's like we're all drops in the ocean of consciousness. And so it's harder for us because we feel that too. However spiritual you become and however much you work on it, we can't live in a bubble. We still have to go out into the world, and we have to survive, and we have to travel, and we have to do, all these other things. So ultimately, I think what you said should be the goal that we all try to achieve on a daily basis, is to where we get to the point where, none of that stuff bothers us anymore. Sometimes we just have to tell ourselves it's useless getting stressed out and everything. What does it do? It doesn't do us any good anyway. You just recognizing it. I mean, it's just a movie. We're just here temporarily, just living in this movie, just, every day going through the motions. So
it looks like that whenever we got stressed, then we go and drink Shivambu. That means it's like a chain smoker. People feel like he's stressed, so he go and smoke a cigarette. So that means that the power of Shivambu, we are abusing it, or we are little deteriorating it. Instead, we must starve ourselves. We must build our capacity to reach to that level that that small stresses or small anxiety or small depression, small frustration should not affect us in our day-to-day life. And my next question is that when we talk about the powerful Shivambu, so what makes the powerful Shivambu in your eyes? That you are mostly talking about the spirituality, but my concept about the spirituality is there are lots of things given in yoga to cleanse our body. There are shat karmas, there are pancha karmas. So there are lots of people who are not even doing the Shivambu therapy, or not consuming the Shivambu, but still while working on their lifestyle, while introducing them a yoga, their hormonal balance is coming down, their diabetes is reducing. So is there any kind of way that just not depend upon the Shivambu and still we can manage people?
To answer your first question, I'm just writing this down because those are really good questions, actually. And I have an answer for both of those. For the first question you asked about stress and being dependent upon the Shivambu or whatever to almost like relying on that, like becoming addicted to it. I think that the more you practice it, you do become addicted to it. But I wouldn't use the word addicted. It's a loving relationship because it's almost like your body wants it for repair and for
But
to be
even
able.
you ask a chain smoker, he also answers the same question. It is the loving relationship between me and the cigarette.
Right. And that's the point I'm getting to. The point I'm getting to is what I've been trying to talk about the whole time is asking when you're stressed out or anything, you should be asking the question, what is the root cause of my stress and what is the root cause of my anxiety? You should not be looking at this, how do I address the symptoms? You should always be looking at how do I address the root cause. And so, with the cigarettes and all that, the root cause is the cigarettes. So you have to stop the cigarettes, not say, I'm going to continue to smoke and drink my Shivambu because the Shivambu is going to take out the toxins of the cigarettes. So like for when you're talking about the stress and everything, it's not like, oh, okay, I'm going to continue my putting myself in a stressful situation and knowing that I can go to the bathroom and drink it and be relieved. What you should be doing is saying, what is it that caused my stressful situation? Was it that I'm around somebody whose energy is really bad, or was it around somebody that I was yelling at me, or was it that I was reading something that I didn't agree with on social media? And then you should address that. The whole purpose is looking at what is the triggers in your external environment and your internal environment and removing those. That's the ultimate goal, in my opinion, to progressing. Now, the second thing is, yes, you can use I barely ever use Shivambu with any of our clients for 20-something years, and we have documented evidence of every single disease, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, everything going away completely. It's not something that necessarily you have to use. There's thousands and thousands of modalities, healing modalities, that are available for people out there in the world to be able to heal themselves from disease. Okay, most successful doctors that are out there healing people of disease are doing that. They're teaching people how to avoid the chemicals and toxins in their external and internal environment. And they're going back to the simplicity of things of detoxifying the body, cleansing and healing the gut, cleansing and healing the liver, getting all the parasites out of the body, getting all the chemicals and heavy metals out of the body. That's really a basic, simple recipe that anyone can use that will eliminate pretty much all disease. And many doctors have been doing that, including myself, for years and years and years without using Shivambu. So yes, I mean, there's ozone therapies. I mean, there's ways that you can use your mind to heal yourself. There's spiritual instantaneous healings that happen. There's uses of Ayurvedic medicine. There's traditional Chinese medicine protocols. There's all kinds of things that you can do to heal people, but those are a lot of the methodology behind that is still treating the symptoms and not the root cause. And so most of the time when people get healed or get better, they end up getting another condition or another disease unless you've taught them why they have the disease to begin with. And that's the difference. That's the big difference. Treating the symptoms versus treating the root cause. I still have lots of people that don't want to do the Shivambu, and that we can still put them through detoxification programs. We can put them through healing programs. We can teach them how to clean up things in their home. We can teach them how to become their own doctor, and they're fine and they live a happy life. But if they ask me what's the most powerful method that I've ever found in my entire life, then I'll tell them that the urotherapy or the Shivambu is the most powerful, because but I also tell them that they need to produce, in order to produce the most powerful medicine within their bodies, they need to have a clean body to produce the most powerful medicine. You can't produce the most powerful medicine in a chemical toxic body. It's still good and it's still pure. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we've had people that are completely toxic, 4-stage cancer, completely riddled with stuff, and we still have them drink their own urine. It's filtered out, but cleaner the body gets, the more power, in my opinion, the cleaner the body gets, the cleaner the mind gets, the more powerful the Shivambu gets.
Hello. Edward, can you hear me?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Have you ever experienced the umbilical hernia cured with Shivambu upside down? Because many doctors tell that it is a mechanical defect and it cannot be cured with anything.
The what? I couldn't understand what you were saying.
I asked that umbilical hernia can be cured with Shivambu.
I have not heard of an umbilical hernia being cured with Shivambu. That's just me. I have not had a case where that's been
Because many
cured.
doctors,
Maybe somebody else on if here has, and they could share that. But with me, no, I haven't had. That's one of the hardest things to work with, the hernias.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Edward, can you hear me?
Excuse me, it's Dr. Edward, sir. Can I ask one question? Sir,
Yes.
have you any solutions to cure the cataract? Cataract. Have you case study or have you seen any cure of cataract, eye cataract?
For cataracts?
Yes, sir.
That's the question.
Yeah. Yes, I have not had an individual under my care, just because no one has come to me yet with cataracts. But I have heard of individuals that have been able to dissolve their cataracts. Some using a combination of evolved urine and fresh urine. Evolved urine can be very burning in your eyes. So they mix it half and half with fresh urine. But probably maybe one of the other practitioners or doctors on this call could give some good information about that.
Can you hear me, Edward?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
My name is Anand. I'm an acupuncturist naturopath
Thank you.
and been practicing Shivambu for some time. Now, some double barrel question here for you. You've talked about Shivambu fresh being used. You've talked about aged urine being used, or aged or evolved Shivambu. My question is, how many people in your practice across your experience that you have seen where you have treated them with fresh Shivambu, and out of that, how many of them do you use aged Shivambu? That is number one. Number two, what case studies do you have in terms of collective numbers rather than anecdotal, in terms of cure rates for whether it's cancer, diabetes, hip pain, arthritis, whatever it might be, whatever cases you have seen? And the third question that is of interest, because I'm not a very great believer in aged urine. You have talked about aged urine ingestion, aged urine injection in the muscle, and aged urine intravenous. And you have also mentioned that intravenously there is a reaction. I suspect there will be a reaction because the pH would be quite high, being alkaline. So can you throw a bit more light on that in terms of what reaction? Do they get thrombophlebitis? Do they just get initial reaction for half an hour and they settle down? Or do they have any other issues, etc., etc.? Whatever has been your experience. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. I think that this is, I'm learning just like everybody else. And I'm sure that many people on this call have way more experience than I do. Just more or less sharing what I've learned myself and with working with individuals. Most people that I've introduced Shivambu to are not ready to take the step into the evolved urine or the aged urine. I would say probably only maybe out of 100 people, maybe 1 or 2 people. Usually what happens is they start on the fresh urine for a while, and then they really are having good results. And then they start transitioning or asking questions more about the evolved urine and how that can help them. And so maybe they'll transition into that. So that was like how many people are doing fresh versus aged. Very, very, very few are doing the aged. Maybe 1%, maybe 2%. It's interesting to me because as a research scientist, I want to try to look at every different angle and see what is the difference. Like, is it more power? I personally feel like it's more powerful, but I feel like for me, it's a combination of both. And mostly I'm 90% fresh, probably more like 95% fresh, 5% aged. Okay. And as far as the studies go for the next question, I don't have any studies. I'm not a believer in studies. I'm not a believer in clinical studies because in order to do an accurate clinical trial, you would have to have 40 people or so. You would have to expose them to the same emotional state every single day, the same dietary habits every single day, the same levels of stress every single day. It's just, in my mind, it's nearly impossible to do an accurate clinical study. And the second reason I don't have any studies is because we don't only use Shivambu. In natural medicine, we use many, many different things. And one patient, I might use iodine, I might use supercharged C60, I might use vitamin D, I might use ozone, I might use hyperbaric, I might use a customized program, and then another patient I might do something completely different. So I don't necessarily believe in like just using one thing. And in order to do an accurate study, you would really need to use just one thing. So I more or less, again, I'm not into this to try to gather scientific evidence to, try to prove one way or another that this is working for everybody, because everybody's different. What might work on some person might not work on somebody else. So we just try to gather. Really, the goal is to educate people on the root cause of disease. That's my whole thing, really. And to teach people how to heal themselves, and to teach people the simple methods that they can use to heal themselves. And Shivambu is one of those. So we just try to collect as much anecdotal evidence as possible. And so I don't have any studies, and I'm not really interested in doing any studies, really. It's more about just educating people. And then the third question about the pH being high at the injection site. So the only issue that I had with the injection of the evolved urine was that I was just sore. It was just the place that I injected it. And you're right, it's probably the pH. It was just sore there for 3 days. It was like there wasn't any swelling. There wasn't anything like that. It was just a sore area on the top of my glute, and it went away completely after about 3 days.
Well, the muscular part is okay. Intravenously, did they create a clot or any inflammation like thrombophlebitis at all?
No, not at all. Okay. And that's a good question. I mean, that's another reason why I'm telling individuals, there's a lot of blood clotting cases going on here in the United States. And that's why I'm letting people know, and have had multiple cases where people are having clotting happening in their system, and I've gotten them on the Shivambu. And, Shivambu contains urokinase. It's the most powerful anti-clotting substance known to man. As a matter of fact, if you go to drugs.com and you look up urokinase, it actually says the strongest clot-busting drug available. Well, urokinase is in our own urine. So that's another reason why I feel like we've been so successful working with people that have had the shot that are having a lot of adverse effects. Cancer's gone up 6,000% for people that have gotten the shot. We've got myocarditis, we've gotten blood clots, we've got people dying suddenly, we've got all kinds of skin conditions happening. It's a very serious situation that the media is not talking about. That's happening right now.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.